And I just want to shout out a huge shout out to all the amazing designers that are joining us today, all around the globe. And isn't it great to be able to celebrate good design and good designers on this International Building Designer Day? Before we talk about solar access, I want to ask, who are you? So there's a little poll that will be popping up soon. Maybe you're a building designer that really cares about the quality of design, a manufacturer that's doing amazing sustainable products, a builder, an end user, some other designer or other. So while you're thinking about who you are and filling that out, I'll just click on that myself. No, I can't vote. I'll just introduce myself. Cory Webb Design, we specialise in sustainable and bushfire appropriate design. I've worked for different designers and architects for 20 years, from Sydney, the High Country and Victoria, throughout Asia Pacific, doing life safety assessments, all sorts of things. In the partnership as well as my wife, Norika, and she brings to our partnership the Japanese principle of motenai, which means waste not. So she's got a pretty impeccable waste reduction ethic around our office and how we do things. Both of us also really enjoy the design principle, or the ethos of wabi-sabi, that is celebrating the beauty that comes from imperfection. And part of that is accepting negative situations and focusing on the positive. So I guess all of us have had a chance to do that during this pandemic, to accept the negative situation, but also, and why we accepted the opportunity to present today, was to focus on something positive, good design. So when a former employee, he semi-retired, we chose to focus on the positive and hand build Cory Webb Design. So if we could get those results up, we'll just share who's here today. So we got 76% building designers, some manufacturers popping up and down, other designers, builders, and the like. So 135 on at the moment. That's great. Great to have you here. So as you're listening today, can you think about, if you're a manufacturer, how can my products improve solar access? If we're a building designer, can we think, how can I educate my clients to make better design decisions around solar access? And if we're an end user, could we think about, well, what questions can I ask my designer during the design process to get better solar outcomes? So I'll just open up our share screen now, so you can see that. So this is who we are, Cory Webb Design. So first of all, why design for solar access? Why are we actually talking about this? Well, on our Facebook feed recently, this post popped up. End user went out to site. They'd thought about solar access, but when they got there, they didn't realize that there was going to be a massive retaining wall along one side of the house, and they were going to lose their north sun. So they were pretty anxious and devastated about it. And so it's important for us as designers to think about, well, client satisfaction is key to our business continuity. And we know, us that are in the construction industry, that the time that decisions can have the biggest effect on the whole of life, sustainability, building costs, solar access, is in the planning and design stage, as we've just heard from the building commissioner, how important that is to get it right at the beginning. So why else should we design for solar access? We've just had released recently a climate change report, IPCC, saying that climate change is that code red for humanity. So the link between climate change and extreme weather events, like the bushfires we experience here in Australia, is obvious. So the design of our houses, it would be logical to ignore this critical issue of sustainability. And solar access is key in that. Why? Because poorly designed houses consume energy voraciously. So we really want to make sure that the houses that we design are appropriate for solar access, which will really help in our personal contribution as designers, but also for our consumers. Why else? The third reason to design for solar access, well, for wellness. And wellness is a core design principle that we include in our work here in Cory Webb Design. Because, and we're talking about solar access, good internal lighting contributes to good health, to mental resilience. As we've just mentioned, the intense summer heat that we experience in Australia, the firestorms, the droughts, the unending. So buildings need to be resilient. they need to shelter us from these extremes. So the buildings that are well designed for sustainability, including this aspect of solar access, can really help provide resilience physically and emotionally by robust materials. But also when we think about solar access, how we get connection with the outside world, the biophilia that we can connect through by really designing our windows and connection with the outside world. We know it's medically proven that a connection with nature is able to increase recovery time for patients. We know the importance of vitamin D. So these connection with nature and ability to get good quality light is not only good for our eye health, our vitamin D intake, and circadian rhythms, make sure we say the right one. So it helps us get a bit of balance in a stressful life. So that's why it's so important for us to design for solar access. There's lots of different principles and strategies for designing for solar access. We're just going to look at 5 and look through some of our recent projects to see how we can do that, to block, consume, reflect, absorb, and filter. So does this apply to all types of buildings? Well, if we're designing a passive house, a passive solar house, an off-grid house, a carbon neutral house, and blocking the sun is an important strategy in all those designs to minimize the intense summer heat, and also, as we spoke about, those wellness benefits that come from it. So in blocking the sun, we need to think about what's the angle of the sun in different times of the year as it changes from summer to winter. And then there's different strategies that we can use, whether it's large eaves, verandas, brise soleil, external louvers. And just one tip that's really helpful is if we've got north-facing louvers, well, they work better as horizontal if they're angled appropriately, because they can permit the winter sun in, but block the summer sun. Whereas east and west-facing louvers, if they're angled appropriately, can completely block out that low summer sun and really get a good outcome. On one house that we've designed and worked on, it's under construction at the moment, we were able to do this and position the veranda on this west-facing side of the house to make sure that it was able to block the sun appropriately, still giving access to sunlight to the rooftop garden, but on the west-facing windows, can block it so that the really intense summer heat doesn't get in there. Also, blocking the sun can affect the community connection that our designs can have. Why do we say that? Well, we'll just walk through a different house we've worked on recently. So here, clients came to us, the site backed onto a reserve. It was actually a golf course, and there was a really nice informal arrangement around the back of the house where families were able to walk along the golf course, the reserve, and chat to each other over the fence. Probably not as much right now. And kids were able to go and jump in each other's pool, and there was a real sense of community. But the challenge, as you can see in this little short clip, was the west-facing direction that this took. And so it actually meant that it was going to limit the community engagement if they didn't get the right connection in this part of the house. So some of the strategies we used on this house, as you can see, we've got the clerestory windows and the large doors that will open up onto the deck. But to have a large overhang to shade the clerestory windows, the horizontal brise soleil over the doors, and then vertical privacy screens at the end of the deck. And so these were able to give a bit of shelter, but also connect with that really important community connection engagement that was possible on this site. The next principle we'll look at is to consume. And we heard recently in the news, all of South Australia, its power is going to come from solar panels, which is really great. And it's becoming more and more popular, and seeing solar panels pop up everywhere. But solar panels can also be connected in lots of different ways, whether it's creating a completely off-grid setup with solar power panels and batteries, or somewhere in the middle, a carbon neutral house that can do that. So going back to that house that we worked on the golf course, we're able to work with consultants to help us position the panels in the right way, but also to connect it with other systems in the house. So for this place, we're able to connect it with a heat pump And then the free energy from the solar panel was working through the heat pump, heating the underfloor heating in the house and the pool. And so basically using free energy to create like a solar battery in the house structure itself. Other options that we investigate with different clients is using smart HVAC, where we connect the solar panels into the different mechanical ventilation systems and using timers and remotes so that you can preheat or pre-cool your house in the off-peak times when it's sunny. And so when you get home at the end of the day, the house, you don't have to use the high peak electricity tariffs and the like. So there's a lot of benefits in connecting our solar panels and how we consume solar access as well. The next principle is to reflect. A client came to us and they had a modest cottage. They were trying to do the right thing, had solar panels, tried to maintain the house reasonably well, but nothing really worked. There was no connection between inside and outside, and inside was just really dark, poorly designed space. So just with a relatively simple renovation, by adding some north-facing glazed windows, we're able to use reflection to really enhance the interior space. And this also included our landscape design by making selections, color selections that were able to bring light colored colors and the ambient lighting inside up through, like, as you can see, the lighter colored planter boxes, water features, the lighter colored paving. And so this is able to really greatly enhance internal lighting in this one-strobe house. And this principle can be used if we've got an overshadowing house, overshadowing vegetation or topography, to bring light in so that we can really improve internal living, which we're all having to enjoy more of at the moment. The next principle in designing for solar is to absorb. So why is this important? Well, we want to think about, well, if we're using like a passive solar design principle, we need to think about where is our thermal mass? How is the sun interacting with our house to bring light to heat up, say, the slab or other masonry elements, rammed earth, other elements that can be heated during the day, to then warm the house during the night. And so we find that this is really effective to use Revit and Enscape to really quantify what the house is able to achieve and modify our designs to make sure that in winter, these houses are bringing in the heat and retaining heat during the night. The final strategy is to filter light. So many of us are probably working from home. I'm not sure. I've been working from home for a little bit, but sometimes we just don't have the ideal lighting set up in our offices or where we live. Perhaps we've got too much glare, too much direct light on us, or too much reflection of other buildings, and it really makes it difficult to enjoy that space. So we don't want to completely block out the light, but we need light. So that's where filtering is important. So some mechanisms that can help us in doing this, as we can see on this house, is to have like vertical louvers to filter the light using vegetation. Maybe sometimes you could use different meshes or facade treatments to filter the light, and even internal window treatments can really soften the light, make the space a more enjoyable place to occupy. So takeaway points, why is this important? Well, as designers, we know client satisfaction is key to our business continuity. So we want to make sure we're delivering the high quality designs that they are. And we really want to applaud all the building designers that are doing an amazing job. And we're looking forward to seeing more of these amazing houses during this day. Secondly, our personal contribution towards climate change and our clients, that's so important. And thirdly, our wellness. We want to create spaces that keep us healthy. What were the 5 principles? Well, firstly, we want to understand how the sun interacts with our building to block out the harsh summer sun. We want to try and think about, well, how can I consume solar energy and integrate it with other systems in the house? We might not be able to go completely off grid, but is there ways that we can educate our clients to consume energy smarter? Also, how can we overcome bad lighting, internal lighting outcomes by reflection? how can we make sure that we keep our buildings warm through absorption and control the quality of our light through filtering. So I hope you enjoyed our discussion today. I'm really happy to connect with fellow designers around Australia and around the world. If you want to, you're welcome to scan the QR codes on there. I think Sarah said she'll put up in the chat the same links if you want to click on those. And happy if anyone has any questions to take some of those offline to another time too. But thanks so much for listening, and look forward to hearing the next speaker.
Cory, you can stay on for a little bit more if you like. You don't have to quickly disappear. We've got another 14 minutes before the next speaker. I guess so, again, I get some messages coming to me on text and so forth. I think there's messages coming from all over the place. People have known what people are going to be presenting on. So I've had a question about the software that you're using to do that fly through. What software you're using? You might want to
So
into that.
We've used Revit for a long time, but with the plugin that we use is Enscape. It's really quick and produces renders and fly-throughs in incredible quality for not that technically minded people like myself. It's really
and so projects like this, how much involvement do you have at the conceptual stage? A lot of clients coming to you and basically saying, I want to have these features in the home, or is it coming up in the conversation? I guess, are you introducing this conversation, or is it more readily coming into the conversation through the consumer?
Yeah, it's a mix of both. Like some have got a problem that their house is dark, so they want to fix it. Others, they're actually educating themselves. Quite a few people, consumers, are really taking the time to educate themselves, and we love helping them to get educated on it, to have a bit of contribution themselves as well. So yeah, it's really nice to see that it's becoming more mainstream. People are wanting to actually contribute themselves, which is really nice. So that's been nice. Probably 50% of the inquiries we get are people that are self-educating and really keen to get into this. So it's really exciting to see that.
Yes, it's quite interesting. I've had clients where they've contacted me and I've looked at their energy consumption, and they're talking about having solar panels and they definitely want batteries. And I said, but you use so much power during the day from your panels, you'll actually not be able to store anything in a battery because you're using too many kilowatts. The solar panel is not going to produce enough, and you're going to still be using the grid. Still didn't really get it. But anyway,
continual process.
Thanks a lot for this morning for putting that together. I know that would have taken a lot of time to put together. So thanks a lot once again, Cory. For those of you BDAA members that are online, make sure that you get connected to the BDAA online connected community portal. I know that Cory, you're quite active in that community. I see you active in all of our social medias. Did you want to tell anyone about the community, the BDAA community?
Yeah, it's been an awesome little setup, and it's great to have just the unfiltered, direct sort of connection between us all in Australia, and being able to really get some technical know-how. We've got some amazing members, and being able to get some of their assistance and some of these things has been awesome. So yeah, I think it's a great tool, and everyone should jump on board.
Yeah, and it is a private group. It is protected, and it's I guess it's an online portal, so it's all in the cloud. So security is of the utmost for us here at the BDAA, and we want to make sure that we've got a portal for our members to communicate with, and not have to go through all the Facebooks and everyone else that try to correlate everyone's data. This is solely for the BDAA and its members. So make sure you jump online to the BDAA connected community. Thanks once again, Cory.